Hello guys, my name is Adari Oji once again. So from Kidney Foundation. So I'm here with one of our patients on routine hemodialysis. So before we proceed, I would like you to please subscribe to our channels and like and share at the same time. So well done, ma. Good morning.
Good morning, doctor.
So how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
Okay, I'm fine too. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
can you introduce yourself to the camera, please?
My name is Ebia Ivara. I am 43 years old. I've been on dialysis. As you can see, I'm not really looking well, but I'm trying to be strong. I am from Cross River State and I reside here in Lagos.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you just brief or just give us like a brief report about your health generally?
It all started in October 2019. I was feeling weird, sort of, because I was always healthy. I felt I was always healthy. I used to work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I I knew there was nothing wrong with me. I go to work, I get home, and I do other things too. But I just noticed in around September that I was sometimes feeling weak. If I'm climbing up my staircase to my apartment, I would just feel unnecessarily weak. At night, I notice I sweat a lot. I will just sleep, I wake up, and I find myself gasping for breath. Then sometimes I also noticed that I was feeling a little breathless. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And most times at work, I would just have this sharp headache that will not go away. Even when I try to sleep at night, I wake up with headaches. Then I decided that in October, that was 2 weeks um, down the line in October, I decided to go to the hospital for medical checkup. When I got there, I did all the tests and it was confirmed that my kidneys had failed. The doctors did not believe because I was still looking very healthy. I even drove myself to the hospital. I went alone. They wanted to know somebody, whoever that brought me to the hospital, because they couldn't believe that I was able to drive myself with the condition I presented in my test. My creatinine level had reduced to just 7% when I got to the hospital. They were expecting me to be taken there in a stretcher. But the only thing they noticed was that my legs were a bit swollen and I was still looking very healthy. So they told me my kidneys had failed. They couldn't believe it. They had to carry out a second test to be sure. I did a test twice. So the following day, it was still the same results that came out. Then after some hours, I was feeling very bad. In fact, they told me that I was lucky I got to the hospital that day because wherever I was, if I was still at work, maybe I would have died over there. Yeah. My condition became so worse, so bad that they had to admit me that night. And they were now trying to transfer me because it was a private hospital. They were trying to transfer me to a Lagos University Teaching Hospital. That same night, I refused. I started taking my medication there. That was at Crown Hospital. So when I did not start my dialysis immediately. It was at the end of October I started my dialysis. And since October 2019, I have been on dialysis. It has been
Has been,
very challenging.
has been a lot. So you've been on
Yeah.
dialysis for about 5 years now.
Yes, it's getting to 5 years. Yeah.
Um, Over time, were there times you were not using your medications well before, or were you on any medications prior to the time you had kidney disease?
Well, I would say that before the time the disease was diagnosed, I I had a breakdown. I had a breakdown at work. That was in February 2019. I was told to have a bed rest. When they carried out all the tests they said I had typhoid and malaria. That was what I was told. So I was admitted for like 4 days and I was taking treatment there in the hospital. My BP was actually high. So I was placed on Aldomet tablets to bring down the BP. I took this Aldomet for some months, like up to June. When I went back, they checked me up and they said my BP was normal. So I stopped taking it because the BP became normal. That's the one. That's what I can remember. I was always healthy. That's what I know.
Okay, so before you were diagnosed of hypertension of kidney disease, so you've been hypertensive.
Yes,
Probably
I
you
was.
didn't know.
Just yes, for a short while.
Oh,
That
okay.
was the first time I was experiencing that.
Okay, aside from hypertension, were you having any other comorbidities, maybe like diabetes or any other medical condition?
No, I didn't have diabetes. I I know I have fibroid
Okay,
that I was managing for so many years.
okay,
So I was just taking this medication from a particular company.
okay. So the
Just for
fibroid became so big.
It became so big. There are multiple.
Okay,
It became so big. I was always bleeding heavily
okay,
during my period. So I was always bleeding excessively. That was what happened.
okay. You didn't consider removing the fibroid.
Yes, I was actually scared because even when 2 years before then, before 2019, that was in 2017, I visited a hospital and the doctor was telling me that with the way the fibroid was so big, that they were going to remove my womb. I told him I wanted to conceive,
Okay,
that he should just give me time. That was when somebody now asked me that I should they introduce a medication to me that would shrink
shrink the
the
fibroid.
fibroid. That it was working for people.
Okay,
And I started taking that medication to shrink the fibroid. I actually noticed that it was working. It was shrinking the fibroid, but it was not really reducing the blood. Each time I had my period, I was bleeding longer than the days I was supposed to bleed,
no.
and it was always heavy. So I just felt that something was wrong with my system. Even in 2019, I noticed that the bleeding was becoming so much. I could no longer control it.
Okay.
That was what I
Did
noticed.
you eventually conceive after that period?
No, no, no.
Okay. So I want to ask, before that time, before you were diagnosed of this kidney disease, were you going through routine, maybe medical checkup?
No, because I was always healthy. Like, I felt I was always healthy. If I had a headache, I would just lie down or take milk and I'll get better. Or once in a while, I pop paracetamol into my mouth and I will get better.
You feel better?
So I was always healthy.
Okay. Do you use drugs like diclofenac, ibuprofen a lot
No,
during all those periods?
no, no.
Okay, so if I get what you said, well, that means because you feel healthy, or you routinely don't go to the hospital to probably do a checkup on your health up until that period when you now start feeling some certain kind of way.
Yeah, once in a while. Then the last time I went to the hospital before 2019 was around 2016
Yeah,
when I had um I think I had
fibroid then.
not the fibroid. I had typhoid.
Okay,
So when I was not feeling well, when I went to the hospital, they actually discovered that I had some little typhoid in me and malaria, and I was treated. That was in 2016.
okay,
So after then, I was always healthy, going about my business.
okay.
Before then,
How frequently do you do your hemodialysis? I know the prescription is about 3 times to 2 times weekly. Usually, we prescribe 3 times, but because of financial constraints, we know a lot of people cannot cope with 3 times, so they do 2 times weekly. So, how frequently do you do your dialysis?
yes, that has been a very big challenge. When I just started dialysis, in the first 2 years, that was in 2019, 2020, up till 2021, I was having it twice in a week. I was doing dialysis 2 times in a week. But as time went on, I started having financial challenges. So since 2022, I've been having it once in a week. And it has affected me so much. I have developed complications because I've not been having regular dialysis. The doctors actually told me that I should be having it 3 times in a week. And I started having complications. As you can see, my stomach, my stomach is so big. Look at it. I have fluid in my stomach. I accumulated fluid here. At a point, the fluid went to my lungs. I had a condition that was called pleural effusion, where fluid was stored in my lungs. It almost killed me. That was in 2023. So I was admitted at Lutz for almost 3 weeks, where the fluid was drained. I almost died because I could not breathe. I couldn't do much. I was always ill. In fact, I was finding it difficult to breathe because I had fluid in my lungs. So
Sorry.
after they drained the fluid, they only drained the right lung. The left one is still there. And since then, I even thought I will be doing dialysis at least twice in a week. But I still find out that I'm struggling to do my dialysis once in a week due to financial constraints. I had people that were helping me, but because the sickness has lingered, all of them are just tired of supporting me financially. That's a challenge I'm having just with the way the economy is now. Even getting medication, the medications we take, apart from the dialysis, they are all expensive. So that's the challenge I'm having.
Sorry for that. Sorry
My
to.
legs are also swollen. Most times I wake up and I find out that my face, the whole of my body is bloated. At times I can't even open my eyes.
So how do you tend to? Sorry for that. How do you tend to manage your fluid restriction? I know there is a certain quantity of fluid the doctor will ask you to take per day,
Yeah.
especially knowing that you are not doing regular hemodialysis.
Yeah.
So how do you manage it, or what was the quantity of fluid you were told to be taking per day, and how do you try in your own capacity to manage that?
Well, I was told, first of all, I was meant to take 1.1.5 liters of fluid. But as time went on, when I was not meeting up with the number of dialysis to take in a week, to do in a week. I started taking 75 cl. That was what they recommended. And no matter what, the highest I should take is 75 cl of fluid. That's a quantity. Sometimes I even take less than that just to reduce the bloating.
Okay, what happens is that most times when they are not doing their dialysis regularly, so they get to stop fluid in thought spaces. So some of them, their lungs are always wet. Then, just like she explained, the pleural space were filled with fluid, and our abdomen too, and also the legs. So that is the major complications that they develop from that. So we tell them to restrict their fluid intake. If I may ask, how do you tend to cope with these financial issues, like for dialysis, and then your own personal needs?
It has been very challenging, very, very challenging, because when I just started my dialysis, I was still working. It was after the COVID 19 in 2020 that I lost my job. I lost my job, and that was when my financial challenges started. I was also getting funds from relatives and friends, but because the disease has lingered, some of them thought I would get better before now. So they are, I just feel because of the economic situation, they are just tired of helping me. And because I lost my job, I don't know, I have been relying on people for help. I've been on social media appealing to well meaning Nigerians to help me. You know, it's not easy for money to come by. Some of them, they see my posts, they just ignore. But once in a while, I have some friends that are still helping me, but I'm still appealing. If there's any way that somebody out there can help me, can help me with my medication just to stay alive, I'll be very, very grateful. I'll be very grateful.
Okay, okay. Prior to when you started dialysis, which work were you doing then?
Yeah, I was working in a private um, company as an administrator. That's where I was.
At what point did you stop working?
That was after during the COVID period, the COVID 19 period. I stopped working because the company couldn't cope with the hardship during the COVID period. So they had to lay off some staff. And I was one of those that was laid off, especially since I was ill. That was why.
Okay. So have you heard about kidney transplant, or has anybody introduced kidney transplant to you? And why have you not tried to use the option of kidney transplant? So,
Yes, I'm actually aware of that. In fact, where I dialyze, Kidney Solutions Limited, I was also referred to a place where I can do my transplant. That is Caroline Medical Center in Abuja. I was actually given the cost of the transplant. That was in 2020. So, because it's not easy to raise that bulky sum for the transplant,
yeah.
I have been appealing to the public to help out. I've not been able to raise the funds for the surgery. I have a donor actually from one of my siblings who is ready to donate the kidney. My
Okay.
only challenge is the funds.
Okay. So the major challenge you're having is just getting fund for
Get
the kidney
refunds.
transplant,
Yes,
meaning that you are open to having a kidney transplant.
yes.
God will do it.
Thank you.
I want to also I want to also ask the cost implication. Have they told you about the cost implication of even getting a kidney
Yes,
transplant?
yes. I've been
You
told.
already mentioned that you have
Yes,
somebody to donate kidney to you, but
yes.
how much were you told it will cost you for a transplantation?
As at then, it was almost 15 million naira. That was the costs I was giving. About 15 million that covers the pre and the post transplant. Yes.
Sometimes, do you get to default from doing your dialysis? Of course, on a norm, you already said you just do once a week.
Yes.
So, but even that once a week, do you default
Yes, I
in doing
do.
it? You
I
do.
do. Yes. I do. I have skipped my dialysis. Even in a week, I didn't do it because I didn't have the funds to pay my bill. So I paid dearly for it because I became very, very sick. It was just God that saved me. I was very sick.
Anytime you
Yeah.
don't do your dialysis,
Yes.
anytime you miss it, you come back being so sick
Yes.
that you nearly lose your life.
Yes. Even my medications too. I don't get some of them, especially the very expensive ones. When I cannot afford them, I just take some. So they are not really helping me. I wish I could get all the recommended medication. It will help me a lot.
Averagely, how much do you spend on dialysis per week?
Per week, I spend over 40,000 naira. The dialysis itself is 40,000. Then we have the cost of the dialysis is so enormous that the financial challenge is what is affecting me and others. Dialysis alone is about 40,000. We have other drugs we take during dialysis, and that is a erythropoietin injection. There's this particular one we take that is very good, the red one. We also, which is about 13,000 naira. Then we take iron sucrose too. So when you put everything together, it's about 60,000 for a session of dialysis. And we are meant to do this dialysis 3 times a week, which is 60,000 divided times 3. And one is at least expected to produce 120,000 or 2 sessions of dialysis a week
Hmm.
in order to stay healthy. The dialysis is just temporary, it doesn't cure anyone. After the dialysis, we get better for some few days. For few days. After like 2 or 3 days, the person starts feeling bad again, and you have to go back and repeat the same process.
Exactly what she's saying is that for people with end-stage kidney disease, so you have to be on routine hemodialysis. If you don't do hemodialysis, you are calling for a great danger. Most times, you do hemodialysis or you do a kidney transplant. Either of the two will help. Abby. All right. How do you balance the dialysis and feeding? How do you do it?
Well, we are meant to be on certain medication and also a diet plan that will help us. We cannot just eat anything like every other normal people do. So the diet also helps to keep us alive. And most of the things we eat, they are also expensive. Like we need to eat more of fruits and vegetables. Feeding has also been challenging, very challenging. When I spend the little money I have on dialysis, I also spend on my drugs. At the end of the day, I just find out that I don't even have money for food. The feed too is also very, very challenging.
Sorry to hear that. Like how much on an average do you spend on your medications? Because I know you have a BP issue, you're
Yes,
hypertensive, and
yes.
then how much do you spend on the medications?
The least amount I spend on my medication for a week is about 20,000 for a week. Most of my BP drugs, I take them, I take them just for a week. The dose covers only 1 week. And most of the other medications too, their doses are just for 1 week. And I have to be buying them. I cannot stop because these are some of the things that need to help me to stay alive.
This is really a lot because with the inflation out there, things are getting worse. The cost of medications are going up. Even the cost of dialysis will soon start going up. Averagely, we do dialysis 40,000 naira per session. Most times, people cannot even afford this 40,000 naira, talk less of when it rises. So people actually really need help. I also want to ask about how you've managed to cope with your or put your sanity together, especially when you say that people that you started with started dialysis with, some of them are no longer there or they are no longer coming or something. So how do you cope? So what do you have going through your mind?
Yeah, that has been a very big challenge too. You know, when you have friends, you have relatives that were looking out for you, and because you have a need, all of
Do you know some people that some of the patients that you guys were diagnosed of the same condition that are also doing dialysis that have passed on?
yes, some of them that that even came after me, some died. And, a lot of them that
How
have passed on.
so how do you cope with that? At every time, what
I know a lot of people I started with, and even those that came after me, some of them have passed. It's not as if I was better off in terms of my medication. Most of them were treating themselves very well. They were meeting up with the requirements. But I believe that I'm still alive today by the grace of God. I know the crises I have had, so many countless number of times that have taken me to several hospitals. But God is still keeping me here by His grace. I am determined to live and I'll still fight it to the end.
yeah, I'm
I just
sure
want to live.
I'm sure God will give you that strength and give you the grace to live very long, more than your expectation and even people's expectation.
Amen.
All right, thank you very much for the interview and for the privilege given to us to interview you. We know that a lot of people would not give this opportunity, but we really appreciate. So we thank everybody. Remember this Kidney Health Foundation. Always try to follow us, like our video, share, and also comment. And remember that Kidney Health Foundation, your health is our priority. Thank you.